Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this Wednesday, and welcome to our free weekly webinars, educational webinars, where today I want to talk to you about a high-powered trading technique. This is a great technique that I apply myself in my own personal trading, and you can use it on any market and any time frame. For example, let's take a look at this older chart in Costco, okay? As we can see here, it's been going up, and let's say you were lucky enough to be long, and you're having some nice profits, but you're starting to wonder where you should get out. And maybe somebody in a chat room says it's going up a little bit too quickly and it's maybe overbought. And then all of a sudden you see this, an evening star pattern. If you're a student of candlesticks, that's a negative pattern, most likely pointing to a downward trend, a trend reversal. So you say to yourself, well, gosh, I'm long here. I don't want to give away my profits. So let's say you decide to sell and you get out. You're thankful you got some nice profits. And the next day you feel good about getting out and selling because it actually goes lower. Well, what if I told you with the technique I'm going to be sharing with you today, you would not have sold at all? In fact, on the day that you thought it was a good decision to get out, you would have been generating a buy signal. And if you had stayed long, you could have potentially captured upwards of 35 more points. So this is what we're going to be sharing with you today and revealing a high-powered trading technique that you can apply in any market in any time frame. And you can apply it really simply and easily on the PTS Primo Charting platform. This is the educational platform I developed and designed with proprietary strategies to actually teach you how to trade. So welcome once again. This stands to be a really great educational presentation. My name is Stephen Primo. I am the president and founder of Specialist Trading. I've been trading now for 48 years. I started my career on the floor of the Pacific Stock Exchange. I was on the floor for a total of 16 years, and 9 of those years I was a specialist. Now, that's where we get the name Specialist Trading, as you see right here in front of you. Now, if you're not familiar with what a specialist is or was, because there aren't a lot of them around anymore because of the advent of electronic trading, in the old days, if you ever Google those pictures of the trading floor with people making these weird hand signals and standing behind these large wooden podiums with a lot of paper on the floor, those were stock market specialists. In other words, if you wanted to buy or sell a particular equity, your floor broker would take your order over the phone, walk up to the trader who specialized in making a market in that. And let's say you wanted to buy or sell IBM, which is one of the stocks I made markets in. You would walk up to the specialist, say, I have 100 shares of IBM to buy. He would sell it to you, and you would go along your way here. So that's what trading used to be like in the olden days. And I traded as a specialist through the crash of 1987 and the bull market that followed. I left the floor in the mid-90s to manage money, also to trade my own account. And about 15 years ago, I teamed up with ProTrader Strategies, and we developed Specialist Trading with one goal in mind, and that was simply to educate traders. And you'll see that in today's educational presentation. Now, before we begin, we're required to share this with you, so please take a moment to view our disclaimer. I'm going to show you a lot of performance results by applying this technique, but please remember that we can in no way guarantee that any of the results I'm about to share with you will be repeated in the future. And since we are first and foremost an educational company, all examples are strictly for educational purposes only. Another way to get more education from us on a daily basis is to follow us on X, formerly known as Twitter. There's our handle right there. You may want to copy that down. It's at SPCLSTTRADG, abbreviation for Specialist Trading. Every day I post between 5 and 7 different posts of snapshots that our signals have generated, strategy signals we've generated, or little bits of financial wisdom. Also, a lot of ways to get free education is to subscribe to us on YouTube. I know we have a lot of people watching us on YouTube right now. So hit the subscribe button. You'll see a lot more of this content that you can view. Okay, so lots of ways to get free education on a daily basis. All right, with that stated, let's begin today's educational presentation. And I'd like to start out once again by something my mentors taught me. These were specialists on the trading floor who saw how much I was struggling my first year or so trading, even though I had access to advanced information that most people weren't able to get. Also, computer access, which most people didn't even have personal computers at the time. But I still struggled tremendously. And here's what they told me. They said, Steve, the secret to consistency is simply to want what the market wants. It doesn't have to get more complicated than that. If the market wants to go higher, we're a buyer. If the market wants to go lower, we're a seller. It's really that simple. I mean, think of it. We only lose money when we want the market to do the opposite of what it's doing. In other words, we sell thinking the market's going to go lower and the market goes up. Or we buy thinking the market wants to go higher and it goes lower. So we want to be in sync with the market. We want to want what the market wants. Now, everyone in the world thinks going into a trade or an investment, oh, sure, I know what the market wants. It wants to do this, or the interest rates are good for the market, or the earnings came out, so the stock wants to do this, or the market wants to do this. Well, if that works so well, then why do 85% of all traders fail? It's because it really doesn't work that well. It's not that simple. For example, someone looking at this older chart in Tesla would say, well, Steve, it's obvious that the stock Tesla wants to go lower. Okay, well, then what happened right here? Okay, so see, it's more difficult to figure out just by using standard or traditional type of things. That's why I struggled tremendously in my first year of trading. So what we need, rather than using the worn out type of methods that really don't have a high level of consistency, is a translator, because it's almost as if the market is speaking another language. And we're trying to figure it out using the same old drawn out language that we always use. It just doesn't work. It's like someone speaking a different language. So obviously you need a translator. So in order to get in sync with what the market wants, you need a tool that translates what the market wants to do. And that tool, the translator, is the PET-D. Now, you've heard me speak about this numerous times before in other webinars. I see a lot of new faces and names in our webinars today. So for those of you who aren't familiar with what the PET-D is, well, firstly, it's a tool that I took from my days on the floor. I was using it some 4 or 5 decades ago on the floor. The only trouble was it was extremely cumbersome to apply. You needed a hand calculator. And at the time, we used to call it the formula, because you had to calculate a formula almost on a tick-by-tick basis. So the good news is we've programmed it into a proprietary algorithm. So we've taken all the hard work out of it for you. And what we've done is constructed it into a color bar tool. So this means it will paint the bars, either green or red. Now, one of the simplest ways to use it is as a signal confirmation tool. This means that you can apply any method, any strategy. It doesn't have to be one of mine. It can be someone else's or even one of yours, and it will confirm if that signal is in sync or wants what the market wants. It's just such a great tool. There are literally dozens of ways in which to apply it. But today I'm going to share with you probably the simplest, but often stated one of the most powerful ways to apply it, as an early trend detector. So let me share with you what I mean here. Let's go back to our old friend Tesla, this older chart in Tesla. Remember how difficult it was? We thought the market wanted to go lower, and then all of a sudden it changed on a dime. Let me share with you how simple it is to apply, especially on our platform, the PTS Primo Charting platform, because with one click, you would just simply click on the PET-D and the colors would automatically change. Now, when you see a series of red bars, the way you see here, it's automatically translating that the market wants to go lower. And then when you see a series of green bars, it automatically translates that the market wants to go higher. So the PET-D does not pick the exact top or the exact bottom. It doesn't forecast or predict how high or how low something will go. It's only telling you on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do at that moment. So as it says here, the beauty of the PET-D is that it tells you which direction you should be trading in. And once you know that direction, well, you can virtually apply any technique or method that is in sync with that direction. So you see how powerful this tool is. In my nearly 5 decades of trading, this is the most powerful trend directional tool I've ever used, better than anything. And I've used them all in nearly 5 decades of trading. So let's talk about the trading technique that uses the PET-D. All right, so you're going to get all the rules to this, and don't worry if it doesn't make sense right away. It's not very difficult, but if still you're not copying everything down, don't worry. Each and every one of you will get a link to this recording. You can watch it at your own leisure, okay? All right, so let's start with buy setups. What do you have to do for a buy setup to be generated? Well, firstly, we want 2 consecutive green bars to be generated right next to each other. In other words, as we look at this generic example right here, it makes no difference if these were 5-minute bars or monthly bars. You want to see 2 bars next to each other, and then once you apply the PET-D, they're both green. Okay. Bar number 1 is green. Bar number 2 is green. Obviously, bar number 1 was up, but the outline is green. Bar number 2 is down, and the outline is green also, or it should be colored green. Now, green bar number 2 must close below the low of green bar number 1. All right, so let's go back to this picture here. Where is the low of bar number 1? Well, right there, all right? So we want to see green bar number 2 close below that. And it does. Closes below bar number 1. So what does this tell us? It tells us that's a buy setup. That's it. It's that simple. No need to look at earnings or interest rates or some announcements that's coming out or economic policy. Makes absolutely no difference. If I'm trading the chart in front of me, that's the only thing I'm listening to. My mentors called everything else outside noise that really distracted you and actually kept you away from becoming a consistent trader. This will actually get you closer to become a consistent trader because you're focusing on the source, which is the chart in front of you, what you're going to be trading. So now you can buy at the market. You can place a limit order below or a limit order above. It makes no difference, but you should be looking at this only from a buyer's perspective because the market is translating. It wants to go higher. Now, conversely, for sell setups, we just turn everything upside down. We want to see 2 consecutive red bars generated next to each other. So once again, 2 generic bars here. It makes no difference if they're weekly bars or 1-minute bars. Makes absolutely no difference what market or time frame you're trading. Could be crypto, could be currency pairs, makes no difference. And once you apply the PET-D, you see that both bars are red. Now, this was obviously an up day, and people say, well, how can it be colored red if it's an up day? Well, simply because a bar goes up does not mean that the trend is up. You know, it's almost like saying just because it's 80 degrees in December doesn't mean that winter's over. You know, we've seen that all the time in the West Coast where you'll have a couple of hot days and it goes right back down to 50 or 60 degrees. So it's no different. We see an up bar here and it's outlined red. Now, red bar number 2 closes above the high of red bar number 1. So we need to find the high of red bar number 1, which is right here. We're not looking at the high of the body. It's the extreme high of the wick. Okay, so this is the high, and we close above. Closes above bar number 2. So the market, not me, not some guy in a webinar, not some guy on TV, not some earnings forecast. The market, the thing you're trading, is telling you it wants to go lower. This is a sell setup. Now you can sell at the market if you like. You can place a limit, stop order. It's up to you, but you should be looking at this from a seller's perspective. This is how simple trading really is. It's us, the trader ourselves, that make it more difficult than it has to be. So let me share with you some recent technique examples using the PET-D with this 2-bar technique. And remember, everything you're seeing today comes displayed with simple access on the PTS Primo charting platform. This is the educational platform I developed with proprietary strategies that actually teaches you how to trade. Okay, we're looking at a chart here in SoFi, okay? Now, as we can see, it's going higher. Let's say you're long. You got long maybe, much lower, maybe $5 or so, and you got a nice profit going here, okay? But you're starting to get worried because that guy in that chat room or on TV says, hey, this is overbought. Why don't you sell your shares or sell half of them and wait for it to come lower because this looks like it's gone up a little bit too quickly. And in the next 2 days, he proves his point because it actually does start to sell off. So you say to yourself, wow, okay, maybe I should sell. Maybe I should get out of it. All right, but what is the PET-D telling us? Let's see how simple it is on our platform. Simply click on the PET-D and see what the translator is saying. Well, the translator is saying that even though the last day or two has gone lower, maybe broken this short-term uptrend, it wants to go higher because all of the bars are remaining colored green. So this is why most traders fail. They're out of sync with the market. They're listening to outside sources, some guy on TV or some faulty indicator that really doesn't seem to work a lot. That's telling them, oh, it's time to get out or time to sell. But the translator is saying, no, you're still in this market. In fact, it wants to go higher. So we apply the 2-bar technique I just shared with you. We look for 2 bars, and what do we have right here? We have bar number 1 and bar number 2. Now, here's the low of bar number 1. we need bar number 2 to be colored green and close below the low of bar number 1, which it does. Now, we won't find that anywhere else except right here. So this is a buy setup right there. And look what happened. 12 points higher, where you thought it was time to get out. Wouldn't you be kicking yourself if you exited? You took a nice 3-4 point gain when you could have made potentially 12 more points. And the good news about this technique is, as long as all the requirements are met, you'll see more and more setups generated along the way. I know a lot of you would say, well, gosh, 12 points, Steve, that's not a lot. Well, remember, this is an inexpensive stock, and it actually gained in less than a month. It had a price gain of 85%. Think if you were trading Tesla. Think if you were trading Costco, and it gained 85% in less than a month, okay? So it really doesn't matter. It's all relative. Here's another example, an AMD. Once again, going straight up, right? And then all of a sudden, it looks like it's topped out. Maybe time to exit. Maybe if you're more aggressive, time to buy some puts or to go short, right? But what is the translator saying? Is it really in the beginning of a downtrend? Click it on. And as we can see, what color are the bars? Well, they remain all green. Even though we've gone down for the past week, every bar is either outlined or colored green. So the market is saying, listen, even though I'm going lower, I still want to go higher. Until you see a series of red bars, I want to go higher. So we look for that 2-bar pattern. And we have it right here. Here's the first one. Bar number 1, here's the low. And bar number 2 is green and it closes below. So that's a buy setup. And then we have another one here. Bar number 1, here's the low. Bar number 2 is colored green and it closes below. So that's another buy setup. So nothing has happened. It hasn't gone up. In fact, it's just kind of sitting there or going a little bit lower until it did kick in. And you could have potentially captured 27 points. And once again, if you missed that setup, it generated 2 more buy setups here along the way. See how powerful this tool is? Here's another example, this one in KD, all right? This is going sideways, and it looks like we made a classic pivot low here. Maybe you say to yourself, hey, that's a bottom. You know, that guy in the trading room says it bottomed out. We have a bullish engulfing pattern right here. It looks like we're reversing, and it hit major supports. All the institutions are buying, so I want to be a buyer too. This is how you lose money, by listening to outside sources that don't have a lot of consistency in them. And I'm not saying this to be arrogant and condescending. I'm saying this from personal experience because this is the way I used to trade. And this is why my first year, I couldn't make any money because I was relying on all these things like support and resistance, institutional buyers, some guru telling me that it bottomed out, and it never worked. It wasn't until my mentors taught me to apply the PET D that I started to show some consistency in my trading. For example, if I really wanted to know what this is doing, I wouldn't rely on some outside source. I would rely on the actual source, what the market wants to do. So I apply my translator, the PET D, and even though it looks like we may have made a bottom there or some support, what color are all the bars? All of them are red. So even though we may be going sideways, the market, the source of what I'm trading is telling me, well, most likely I want to go lower. Even though it looks like I'm doing nothing and going sideways, I most likely want to continue lower. All right, so we look for that 2-bar pattern. And we have right here, bar number 1, bar number 2. We look for the high of bar number 1, which is right here. And red bar number 2 closed above that. So that's a sell signal. Now it went down for a little bit, but then starts to firm up. But what do we have here? We have another setup. Bar number 1, bar number 2. Here's the high of bar number 1. We closed above it on bar number 2. So that's another sell signal. So we had 2 chances to go short before anything happened. Actually, 3 chances. What am I talking about? We had another setup right here. So 3 chances to go short, even though the stock is just going sideways, or 3 chances to exit. If we were long, we could use this as an exiting tool. And look what happened. The stock fell 12 points. So if you didn't want to go short, you could have saved yourself a 12-point loss. Once again, we look at Airbnb. It's going higher. But then all of a sudden it falls out of bed. And you say to yourself, wow, okay, I dodged a bullet there. I'm glad I didn't buy. But you know what? We've come down way too quickly. Looks like we're starting to reverse. We closed above the last bar. So I think we're bottoming out here. That guy in that trading room says we bottomed out. So there's major support. I want to go long this, all right? Once again, all of my decisions are made from an outside source, but they're not relying on what the market is telling me. What's the market I'm trading telling me? What is A, B, and B telling me? Apply our translator, it's telling me that it wants to go lower. We still are all red bars. The last 5 bars have been red. And if we apply that 2-bar pattern, we see that bar number 1 and bar number 2 here. Here's the high of bar number 1 and red bar number 2 closed above. So that's a sell signal, okay? So if you were thinking about going long, well, this would have told you, why don't you hold off a bit until you get some green bars, because you would have saved yourself a 15-point loss in the next 3 days. Or if you were short, you could have gained 15 points in just 3 days. Here we see 2 buy examples in PLTR, okay? Buy here and a buy here, regardless of anything what's going on in the news, regardless of fundamentals, who cares? The market is telling me what I should do. And you could have potentially captured 35 points coming into last week. Here's another example in BRBR. The stock is basically going sideways, but all the bars have been colored red. Here's the 2-bar pattern, bar number 1, bar number 2, we closed above. A sell was generated and nothing happened in the next week until right here when it gapped down 22 points. Isn't it amazing how even though some announcement or some news came out regarding this stock, which caused it to go down 22 points, but we knew a full week in advance to go short. How did we know that? None of our strategies or methods are based or apply any fundamental news. So how did we know? It's because the market just about 9 out of 10 times tells you what it wants to do in advance. The only trouble is we're never trained to listen to the market we're trading. We're always trained to listen to some guy in a chat room, some earnings estimate, some economic news announcement, or some guy in a chat room, or even some guy in a webinar. But we're never trained to actually listen to the stock in front of us, the actual source of what we're trading. So our translator told us that it wanted to go lower. This is how powerful, once again, the PET-D is. All right, here's a chart of NVIDIA going back from May all the way up until August, okay? Looking back in hindsight, someone would say, wow, this has gone straight up. How could I have taken advantage of this? Well, here's the 2-bar pattern. Look how many chances you had. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 chances to buy NVIDIA up until last week. And you could have potentially captured 52 points just simply by using the translator and applying this pattern. The same thing works to the downside. Here's a chart of Lulu coming into last week. It's been going down, right? Someone would say, listen, I don't like to short, Steve, but gosh, I'm long this stock, and that guy on TV told me to keep on buying it. It's a value stock now, but how come it keeps going lower? Well, because you're not listening to the stock. It's been trying to tell you it wants to go lower, and you could have used the 2-bar pattern to exit here and saved yourself 45 points to the downside. This will work on any market. Here's a chart of gold, XAU USD, all right? Same process applies. Or we can look at a different market. We can look at the British pound. Here's a 4-hour chart of the British pound, and a totally different time frame, a totally different market. Looking back in hindsight, we see that this was going down coming into the end of July. How could we have taken advantage of it? Well, look at all the setups this 2-bar technique could have generated for you to go short. You could have potentially captured upwards of $3,000 per unit. Let's look at IBP, okay? Now, what is the market telling me? Well, it's telling me that it wants to go higher because all the bars are still green, okay? So if we apply the 2-bar technique, we see that it's also given us 3 chances to go long, right here, and right here. And even though nothing much has happened, look what finally kicked in. A 62-point gain. And finally, the market kicked into the upside. But through our use of the PET-D, it was telling us weeks in advance, I want to go higher. Let's look at this example in our ISRG, okay? Once again, it looks like it's going lower. Some people would say, well, Steve, it looks like it's based right here. It's making some type of a base, but what are all the bars colored? They're all colored red. So there's your first sell pattern right there. And if you went short, you could have potentially captured 55 points to the downside. Now, a lot of students say, well, Steve, okay, but if I use this, should I buy puts? Should I short the stock? Like, what do I do? Well, that's up to you. Our job as a mentor is to simply teach you and provide you with all these high-powered setups. However you want to apply them is up to you. In other words, if I teach you how to golf, which I don't know how to do, but let's say I did know how to golf and I teach you, whatever clubs you want to use are entirely up to you. Whatever golf course you want to play at is entirely up to you. My job is simply to teach you how to play golf. It's no different with stocks. My job is to share with you and to reveal these high-powered setups. It's up to you to decide how you want to trade them. Okay, so let's take the concept once again, go through step by step. We're looking at a chart here of APP. All right, looks like we're in a range market, right? In range markets, we're always taught, well, you stay away from a range market, right? Because it doesn't do anything. It just goes sideways, and that's where you lose money. But are we really in a range market? Let's see what the translator is saying. We click on the PET-D. First thing you do is click on the PET-D. And we see that even though it appears we're in a range, all of the bars are colored green. Now, someone would say, yeah, but Steve, this is a bearish engulfing pattern. That's a trend reversal pattern. Most likely we're going to go lower. Nope. I don't care what any technique or any method says. If the bars are green, we only have a buyer's perspective. So let's look for this two-bar pattern here. Well, it's right there on the same two-bar pattern as a bearish engulfing pattern. It actually is telling you to go long because we have bar number one, which is green. Bar number two is green. The low of bar number one is right there. So if we close below that, that's a buy setup. That is not a bearish engulfing pattern. That is a buy setup. This is why most traders fail, because they're using traditional methods that really don't have a lot of consistency. It's so much easier and you'll be so much more consistent if you rely on one thing, the market, the translator telling you what it wants to do. So it just told us it wants to go higher. And this was at the end of July, just a couple of weeks ago. And coming into last week, the stock was up 100 points. You see how simple this is. When you learn how to listen to the market, trading becomes so much more simpler and consistent. Remember, the secret to consistency is simply to want what the market wants. Most people think that they know what the market wants, but trust me, if most people were right, then why do 85% of all traders fail? It's because you're out of sync with the market. You think it wants to go higher, but it actually goes lower. You think it wants to go lower, but it actually goes higher. The secret is to simply want what the market wants. In order to do that, you need a translator, and that translator is the PET-D. So let's recap that technique for you. Remember, what you want to see for buy setups are two consecutive green bars, and then green bar number two closes below the green bar number one. That's your buy setup. For a sell setup, you want to see two consecutive red bars next to each other. And then red bar number two must close above the high of red bar number one. That's it. Now, ask yourself, the majority of 2025 is over. Can you believe it? We've only got a little over 4 months left in the year. So do you think this technique can help your trading for the remainder of the year? I think it can help it tremendously. You just have to be honest with yourself. So if you're ready to take your trading up to the next level, let me tell you about a great attendee discount we have for all of you taking the time out of your day to watch this educational presentation. We're going to offer you what we call our roadmap for any market. This is the PET-D, the Primo Early Trend Detector. It's a proprietary color bar algorithm that you can apply to virtually any market. Now, we're also going to include with the PET-D two continuation trading techniques. These are two more techniques, totally different from what I shared with you today, along with two pullback trading techniques. So you're going to get a total of 4 different techniques along with the one I just shared with you today. Included, you'll get a trailing stop technique. So this is an unbelievable advantage that you can have right away to your toolbox of trading. And you can also use to confirm your current strategy. And we share that with you, how to do that in the course. Now, everything you saw today was by applying the PTS Primo Charting platform. So here's the good news. We're also going to include, till Friday only, a full 12 months absolutely free of our platform if you decide to come on board and become a student of mine in the Pet D course. Now think of that. That's an extra added advantage because you'll not only get the Pet D, but you'll get a host of other different tools, techniques, and indicators that we don't have time to go over that are also included on the platform. These are tips and techniques that you won't find anywhere else. Things that I've taken from my nearly 5 decades of trading that you'll only find on the PTS Primo Charting platform. Things like our enhanced buy-sell line, 4 different ways to determine what the overall trend is of any market. A strength of trend tool that has an uncanny ability to tell you if the trend is running out of gas or if it has some more room left in the tank to go higher. A signal scanner. You can scan for these Pet D signals on your own every night on a nightly basis. You'll also get auto entry levels, auto stop placements that you'll see on the platform, and along with auto-generated exit levels as well. This all comes with personalized tech support. And remember, you'll get a full year free. This is just the tip of the iceberg. There are literally dozens more things available on the platform. I just don't have time to go over with. Now, I know a lot of you are saying to yourself, well, gosh, Steve, you totally gave away that technique for free, so I know how to use it. So why do I need the Pet D for? All right, well, let me share with you why you still need the Pet D. Here's an example, all right, in VRSN, an older chart. Now, the stock is going down. So you say to yourself, okay, we're in a downtrend, and then you see this bar happen. And you say to yourself, wait a minute. I know most people would say, okay, we're going higher, but here we have bar number 1, bar number 2, and I can almost guarantee you that these both bars are red. So I want to make sure that if we close above here, this is actually a sell. So I don't really need the Pet D. I know the 2-bar technique. So I sell right here, right? You buy the puts, whatever you want to do. And look what happens, okay? This is why you need the Pet D, because if you had the platform with the Pet D, it would have been as simple as clicking on the Pet D and seeing that bar number 2 was outlined green. Remember, in order to go short or to get a sell signal generated, you need bar number 1 and bar number 2 both colored red. So that wasn't a valid signal at all, and you would not have lost money. Or this example, an AGYS. All right, we're in an uptrend. We're going higher, just like the examples I showed, and then we have one down day. Now, most people say, oh, that's it. The guy in that trading room says, that's it. We've topped out. You say, no, I went to that webinar that guy Steve Primo gave, and this is actually a buy setup because here we have bar number 1, bar number 2, and we closed below the low of bar number 1. So most likely these are all still green bars. So I'm just going to buy. So you decide to buy, and this happens. Say to yourself, what happened? I don't understand it. Well, if you had the Pet D, once again, and our platform, you could click it on and see that bar number 2 was a red bar. In order to buy in that 2-bar pattern, both bar number 1 and bar number 2 need to be colored green. Do you now see why you absolutely need the Pet D? That's how important it is, and that's how powerful it is. It virtually translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do. And in order to be in sync with the market, in order to want what the market wants, you need this translator. So let's break it all down. Our roadmap for success, our roadmap for any market. Now, normally the Pet D course and the application will cost you roughly about $5,000, $49.95. And if we include the platform, well, we're talking close to $6,200. But don't worry, we're going to discount that tremendously today. This is for a limited time only. We're going to drop the price down to $39.95. That's a nearly 35% discount. You're going to save close to $2,200. Now, we realize that $39.95 may still be a little bit too rich for some people to come up with on a one-time basis. So if you can't come up with $39.95, don't worry. ProTrader Strategies, my sister site, which is in charge of all of the discounts, in charge of all the purchasing and selling, they will take payment plans and they will make them available for a limited time as well. So basically what that's saying is for a fraction of the $39.95 cost, you can come down with a one-time payment, and then you can establish a payment plan with ProTrader Strategies and still be up and running. Most likely as early as today, if you like. So remember, 2 ways to buy with a nearly 35% discount at $39.95, pay in full, or establish a payment plan. Put down a one-time deposit of a fraction of $39.95 and establish a payment plan. Now, either way you decide to go, you still get a full year absolutely free of the platform. So this is a great, great offer, a great way to get on board and to finish out the year strong. Here's how to take advantage of this great, great offer. Contact Pro Trader Strategies. As you see here, I would most likely, rather than email them, give them a call at 310-598-6677. Trading consultants are manning the phones right now. They'd be more than happy to either take your order over the phone or even just give you a quote about a payment plan that you want to establish with them, okay? Now, the link you see below is the link that will take you to the info as well as sign up page. It's not a live link though. You'd have to copy and paste that onto your browser. But to make things simple, if you go to the chat box, Pro Trader Strategies has posted a link on the chat box. So simply open up that little icon in the Zoom column there, and you'll see that there is a link posted there. It'll be a lot easier. Click that on and it will take you to the info page, okay? Now we still have some more time for any type of questions or anything you're still inquisitive about. If you have any questions concerning what we went over today, kindly either go to the chat box or the question and answer box. I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Someone is asking, so this works on any market, any time frame? Yes, it does. So it makes no difference if you're trading currency pairs. We showed you a couple of examples. If you're trading gold, if you're trading crypto. I personally use this technique trading the E-mini futures. All right, you can look at a 10-minute time frame of the futures or intraday trading of stocks and apply this same concept, and it works tremendously. So the PET-D is a translator, and it translates on a tick-by-tick basis what the market wants to do, but it doesn't take into account what market it's looking at. It doesn't care if it's looking at Dogecoin or if it's looking at IBM. It makes absolutely no difference. Or if it's looking at the euro dollar, or if it's looking at the E-mini futures. It only generates these signals and setups based on what it's accumulating and the requirements, if the requirements are met. So yes, it makes absolutely no difference. That's the beauty about the PET-D. It's a great translator for any market, any time frame. Someone's asking, how do I establish a payment plan? Well, like I said, the best thing is just to contact Pro Trader Strategies. And remember, I don't want you to feel as if, you get intimidated. I know a lot of the websites do. They intimidate you into buying or whatever. They're there to work with you. They're very easy to talk to. Just contact Pro Trader Strategies, 310-598-6677, excuse me. And they would be happy to give you a quote about a payment plan, and be happy to tell you what's required. Now, the only thing I have to suggest is that we've seen this happen before, is that a lot of people will say, well, kind of like that example I shared with you, they'll say, well, I really don't need the PET-D. I know what this pattern is, and I'll just continue to use my strategy. And then a couple of weeks go by or a month, and they say to themselves, wow, my stuff is not working. It's getting worse and worse. I think I'm going to take up their offer on that payment plan with the PET-D. But then they contact Pro Trader Strategies, and that offer is concluded. Remember, this is for a limited time only, most likely just less than a week. So if you're at all interested, I would give Pro Trader Strategies a call. Don't sit on this or sleep on this, because most likely it'll go back to up to $6,200. And remember, you're getting a full year absolutely free of the platform. That's an amazing, amazing offer, because as I said, I don't have time to go into it, but there are literally dozens of more techniques and methods on the platform that are included with what you'll get for that first year. That comes included with the PET-D. And the PET-D also includes 2 more techniques for continuation strategies that go with the trend, and 2 pullback strategies or techniques that go with buying at lower levels, along with a stop placement technique. So it's great information. You're getting a lot of stuff there for a great, great offer, okay? Okay, if there are no further questions, remember, if you're at all interested, give Pro Trader Strategies a call at 310-598-6677. No pressure. Just ask them any more questions. They'd be happy to give you a quote. As we conclude and take one last look at our disclaimer, I just want to thank you so much for taking time out of your Wednesday. I know there are a lot more important things to do in your day. I just want to say thanks for listening to us. I hope you saw our attention to detail and how we really want to educate traders. That's our real goal. We're a lot different from other webinars you may have attended, in that our only goal is simply to educate you. There's more than enough profits on a daily basis for everyone to go around. So our job as a mentor is to share with you how to get those profits and how to attain them on a daily basis. Thank you so much for attending. I wish you all the best of luck and look forward to you in the PET D course. Thanks so much. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.